What risks are you willing to take in your business to take it to the next level? For Tim Weisheyer, he is the president-elect or 2025 president of Florida Realtors and also CEO of Dream Builders Realty and DBR Commercial in Central Florida. He joined the podcast today, and he is a risk taker. He is very adventurous and also a risk taker in business, and that's really paid off for him. He shares his advice on servant leadership and taking risks in order to move your business to the next level and innovate. And it's a really interesting podcast, so I'm sure you're going to love it. Thanks. So, Tim, welcome to the RealTrending podcast. Glad to have you here.
Thank you. Honored to be with you. I appreciate the invitation today.
Yeah. And you and I talked recently about your presidency for the 2025 Florida Realtors Association. So congratulations on that. I know it's going to be a big year.
Thank you. Yeah, truly honored and really excited about what we're going to do in 2025 and making sure we get ahead and meet our members where they need to be and what they're looking for to protect their businesses and obviously the profession we care so much about. So thank you.
Yeah. It's a big year. So I want to first have you start by introducing yourself to the audience. Tell me a little bit about you and a little bit about your company.
Sure. Well, I'm probably I think it's my 28th year as a real estate professional. I did start in residential real estate when I first started. My goal was always to move into commercial and ultimately development. And so I do own a few different real estate brokerages, both in the commercial and in the real estate realm. I own a development company and a consulting firm. I've been able to work with really smart and talented people in my companies throughout the years. And obviously, we've continued to evolve and change. As you can imagine, with nearly a 30-year career, we've had to. I was originally born on Long Island, New York, when my family moved down to Florida when I was 11 years old. So I am 100% a Florida guy. That is home to me. That's what I know the most. And I have two daughters, one in Charlotte, North Carolina, one right here in Orlando, Florida. And so, I've had a very successful and very blessed, and I'm very grateful for the career that I've had.
My son is actually in Charlotte as well. So,
good. Yeah, it's a great spot.
Started a new job there. So, yeah. Now you know, obviously your career spans volunteer leadership with the association, elected official with the school board, also, you know, obviously real estate experience. So tell me a little bit about kind of how that path took you to where you are today, or how that really shaped your experience.
Yeah, I get that question a lot, to be honest with you. I would start probably by saying that one of the greatest blessings I have is that my parents modeled servant leadership for me. They were always involved in something in the community. My dad was president of the youth sports league that myself, my brothers, and my sisters all participated in. My mom was heavily involved. She was in education, and so she was always volunteering in some way. So that idea and that spirit of making sure we're giving and serving others is just embedded in who we are as people and as a family. Out of my siblings, I've probably leaned into it the most. I have a very clear understanding of my strengths and weaknesses. I know the things I'm really, really terrible at, and I'm not ashamed of them. They're just not things that I'm going to be good at. But I also equally know the things that I am good at, and being able to lead in areas of community service, whether it's been in the Realtor Association, as you said, being a 2-term chairman of the school board, which most people don't realize is, number one, it's the gateway to economic development in pretty much every community in the United States, but also the largest employer. You're dealing with 10,000 employees in a $1.5 to $2 billion organization. For me, all of that has always just been about how do I use this little bit of time, this little bit of talent that I have, and use it in a way that I think is going to make a positive difference in the lives of others. And you see that in my desire and willingness to serve at Florida Realtors, the local Realtor Association, and certainly at NAR as well. I just believe in truth that all of us are called to use our lives to make a positive difference for others. And so that's just been my purpose, my calling, and what I plan to spend the rest of my life doing.
That's wonderful. And, you know, honestly, I find that in all the interviews I do with executives, the servant leaders tend to be the most successful because they're not worried about themselves. They're more concerned about the people that they serve. And I just think it's a wonderful thing. I've read quite a few books on that as well. So definitely.
Yeah. And thank you. And I agree. And it empowers you in so many ways to get outside of yourself and really think about critically, how do I improve? What difference am I making? How am I leading and inspiring other people? And it gives you real meaning and purpose. Profitability is great. I enjoy it. I love it. I work to achieve it. But making a difference is really the core foundational principle for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I want to kind of get personal here, and I want to talk about the most adventurous thing that you have done, whether it's career
Sure.
oriented, personal. So let me know.
Yeah, Matt. So look, if I think it's career oriented, I'm an
Mhm.
entrepreneur by nature. I'm always willing to start and invest in new companies. I enjoy that, and I guess for some that's considered adventurous. There's certainly risk involved with it every time you do it. If you go on the more personal side, I just love activities. I love adventure. I love outdoors. So whether it's bungee jumping or race cars at 185 miles an hour, or surfing, or my newest thing is I really enjoy rock crawling, taking Broncos or 4x4s out and climbing up steep mountains and cliffs. I grew up skateboarding half pipes and wakeboarding and surfing. And so the idea of always being involved in adventure in some way is just really ingrained in who I am. And I always tell people too, if anyone follows the Enneagram is one of those personality profiles. I'm an Enneagram 7, which is called the enthusiast or the adventurer. So I'm the guy I always say, if you call me at 2 a.m. and say, I have a great idea, let's go do this. As long as it's not illegal, unethical, or not going to die, then I'm probably going to go do it with you. I just really enjoy finding exciting things in life to be a part of. So
Do you
really
think that
spans it all.
do you think that really helps you as an entrepreneur, kind of having that mindset?
I do, because in order to be an entrepreneur, you have to be willing to take risks, and you have
Hmm.
to be willing to go into areas that other people aren't willing to go into, whether that's in making your personal investments to, fund something that you believe in and you see the value in, but you're not sure the marketplace will really respond to. And so I think a lot of the same behaviors and characteristics that I have as just a person certainly are what lend to my willingness and my desire to invest in companies or be involved. My youngest sister and my brother are very successful in business, and they both say all the time, "We would never do what you do. You're the risk taker. You're the entrepreneur. We like working for our corporations and running what we run." And I've told them over and over, let's invest in stuff together. And my brother, who's incredibly smart, says all the time, I already work enough now. If I owned it all, I'd probably kill myself. And so you have to have that, tenacity as an entrepreneur to say, I'm going to take the risk. I'm going to do it.
So what has been your biggest risk that really paid off?
That's a fair question. I guess I would answer that this way. I don't know if I would put it to one risk, but a risk pattern that is all clustered together, which is the idea that I'm never going to sit still, right? I always have to constantly be looking at how do I change and grow. And I think, what happens so often is people get into business or process, whatever it may be, positions, and they just get really, really comfortable in it. A great example, use my elected position as an example. I could have run for reelection. I know I would have won. The dynamics were there for it. But I said when I ran, I didn't want to be a lifetime politician. I wanted to serve, and then I wanted to move on. Well, once people get in those positions, many times they don't leave them because it becomes very comfortable. Then you take business and you say, okay, well, I created this and it works and it's making profit. And so I'll stay here and I'll keep doing what I do over and over again. Well, at some point, you have to be willing to step outside of that and say, what's next? And how do I innovate? And how do I maybe evolve from what I thought was the greatest idea today into where it is I need to go tomorrow? And so I think for me, I don't know if there's any one risk per se, but it's this combination of me always saying, what's next? What's on the horizon? How do I make sure that I'm making the decisions today that are going to place me in a better position tomorrow for greater impact, greater success, greater innovation, greater opportunity, and truthfully, internally, from my heart and my soul, greater reward.
Yeah, I think that is really difficult for a lot of brokers and a lot of agents and team leaders as well. Is they're comfortable in what they're doing, and sure, they're successful and things are going along, but making that decision to try something new, like, what is your advice? How do that's kind of built into your personality, but what if it's not?
Sure.
What can you do to kind of get yourself over that hump and take that risk or try something new?
Yeah, I think first I would say be willing to stretch yourself. If you truly want to grow in life, it doesn't matter what it is. It's health, fitness, doesn't matter. You pick it, business, finance. You have to be willing to stretch yourself. You have to have a degree of humility to say, maybe I need support or maybe I need help. Maybe there's somebody that I can come along with. that can ultimately help me move past that position. I do coaching for people. And one of the things that I enjoy about that is, someone will come to me and say, I want to do this, or I want to achieve this. It's okay. Well, that humility to say I needed help is really key. The second thing, I teach on these 4 C's of leadership, and one of them is competency. And if you don't know what to do, then study it and prepare. And so for someone like me, I know that there's a certain way that my brain works and the way that I think. And maybe I have a slight advantage in some regard because I was just made that way or raised that way. But there's also a lot of things that I don't know how to do, and I have to constantly learn how to do. And so I'm always challenging myself to say, lean into somebody smarter than me, surround myself with really competent people. And if you're scared to take that risk, then do that. Be humble enough to say, I need help, find the right people to do it, study it, and then begin to develop it and perfect it in a way that you can ultimately monetize it or scale it.
Yeah, absolutely. I've recently been through that myself, learning how to do data viz on a program that I had to completely train myself on, which was not easy, but it was fun, and it was completely worth it once I actually figured it out. So I get that. Yeah.
Well, let me maybe offer this. This is an interesting example. One of my best friends used to be a feature animator for Walt Disney World. So hand drew Lion King, Mulan, Brother Bear, Lilo and Stitch, all those type of movies. And when feature animation, hand drawn, was going digital, and that's when Pixar and everything was going nuts, I watched all these very talented artists who I love and have tremendous respect for have to say, this is what I was trained in, and this is what I've been doing at the pinnacle of my career and what everyone aspired to be. But now this is where it's going. And I watched each one of them. But this one friend of mine, Scott in particular, watch him say, I just have to reskill. I have to go back and learn how to take the talent and the drive and the passion I already have and learn the new processes and systems to do it. And obviously he's super successful now in what he does with fine art and everything else. So you have to always invest in yourself and grow and be willing to learn the things that you don't know how to do.
Yeah, that's a great example too. That had to be intimidating to be at the top of your profession and then have to start kind of over with a new type of way of doing it. And so I want to get into your business a little bit. So first of all, tell me a little bit about the structure of Dream Builders, and then I want to kind of go into some of the technology and innovation that's helped you scale your business.
Sure. Well, and I think the better way to talk about this is not just Dream Builders, because it's really the combination of the companies. There's Dream Builders Realty, there's DBR Commercial Real Estate, and now there's also Avanti Way Realty. And Avanti Way is the newer company that I've become a part of and invested in, and I'm really helping lead and grow in the Central Florida market. But I'll use each one of those to make the point. Avanti is the newest investment and approach to say innovation is at the forefront. And I know it's one of the things that when you and I were speaking really sparked your interest and energy. Dream Builders has always had to innovate. Every company has had to, and that's just been something that we've been proud of. I mean, we were at the leading edge of getting online with real estate. We were at the leading edge with how we're doing data shares and creating online and social content. But the truth of it is, even though I was at the leading edge of all of those things and, the new way of business, quickly everyone else caught up to us. And so we always had to constantly recreate. The thing I like the most about what we're really looking at now as companies, and for myself as a broker and a real estate leader, is how do you really begin to develop and own more technology internally? There's so much happening in the prop tech and the fintech space that people want to sell products, goods, or services to real estate professionals and real estate brokerages. But I really think the ones that are going to succeed are the ones that start to invest and innovate within themselves. And so Avanti Way is a great example of a company that has been building in all this technology and an ecosystem with a tech stack that's vertically aligned and integrated so that our agents, we call them agentpreneurs, they don't have to go to 5 different platforms, and we don't have to have Zapier and all these things trying to connect everything. It's all organically fed from within with the engineers and the technicians that work directly for the company. I think that's vital. One of the most difficult things for so many people, and they deal with it in every regard on their phone, There's another app for something. There's another download for something. There's another login. There's another password to remember. But if we can bring that whole ecosystem together and really align what we're doing and drive it with really smart technology, innovation, and data, we're empowering our agents to get ahead of the curve and lead in the marketplace in a way that others won't be able to compete with.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when it was all about disruptors, and then it was technology, and it was a rush to get the best in technology as a way to recruit the best agents. And then technology kind of became table stakes. I mean, every brokerage has to have it. It's just how usable it is, I guess, is really what the question is. And now everybody's like rushing to get AI and like machine learning built into the programs that they're using. And I feel like AI is kind of in that right now, where it's like the apps of the old, the iPhone. You've got a million different apps that you can integrate into like ChatGPT or Google, and at some point they're going to funnel down to just the best. But right now it's overwhelming. I get this newsletter called "There's an AI for That." And every day there's like 20 new AI, apps. So tell me a little bit about your thoughts on that trend and how you're implementing it or looking at it from, a strategic perspective.
Yeah, so I think the first thing I would say, we use the term disruption, and that's fine and that's fair. I really think it more is just innovation and opportunity, to be really honest with you. You think about, let's just use technology. And I've said this to other groups before. A pager was technology and was innovation. A cell phone was technology. A fax machine was technology and innovation, right? But we continue to work through it. Going from combination to digital lock boxes was technology. The newest iteration of what we're dealing with machine learning, AI, and everything else, it's just a new opportunity to create greater efficiency, higher levels of output, and to respond to the marketplace at a speed that otherwise would just be slower. The thing that I would say is that the winners in this process are going to be the people that have the technology and innovation that leads them at a speed and a pace that others can't keep up with, but still maintain and understand the value of the soft skills that are required to truly be successful in this industry, within this profession. At the end of the day, there's still the basic blocking and tackling in real estate that has to happen. And it's still a relationship business. And people still want to run to the grocery store, the mall, the soccer fields, and know that you're there, that you care, that you're going to be engaged, and that you know how to take all this information that now is coming so fast and interpret it in a way that's actually meaningful and provides real value for them. The biggest mistake I think so many people are making is they think just because they're affiliated with someone or something that has technology that is going to solve their problems. And I don't believe that's true for a minute. You have to still deal with all of the relationship pieces. And you know this because you live in this space as well. We are dealing with the largest investments in people's lives. We are dealing with the number one wealth builder, the key to financial independence. And so people want to make sure that they have a Tim Weisheyer on the other side of the transaction that truly cares about them, is taking 20, almost 30 years of experience and applying it to very new and unknown data sources, and then figuring out what really makes sense. Timing of market is really key. You can have all the data that spits out an AVM or an RVM or something like that that tells you what the valuation is. But how do you make those adjustments for what a consumer may or may not want, or where it is at seasonality with the market, or what's happening with new development around the corner that the technology won't necessarily know, but you know, hey, this is coming, and all of a sudden prices are going to go up, or they're going to level off, or there's a major change coming in a negative way to the marketplace. Those dynamics are key. So you have to have both, in my opinion, but you need to lean in technology today if you want to remain relevant in where we are as a society.
Yeah, and I think if people kind of forget that personal side of it, it's this concern, oh, AI is going to take over. But like you said, as a realtor, you know your area and you know what's going to be happening in your area so that you can make decisions about information that you're given through your technology sources and adjust it to the current market or the current area. And that is where the value is.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think that's ever going to change either. I mean, the way we operate and the things that we do and the 200 things that we do in a process may change a little bit over time, right? Fine, no big deal. But at the end of the day, you still are going to need a human being that you can connect with, relate with, and understand and work with. And what people don't realize, and take real estate example, you're normally dealing with pain or pleasure. Somebody got a divorce, they lost someone, whatever, they lost a job, they need to sell, you're dealing with that pain. They had a baby, they got a promotion, they relocated finally to the place of their dreams, the Sunshine State, right? And that's an exciting thing. So you have to be able to understand what is the core emotional need that you're meeting for people. And that's one of the things we train and talk about in our customer service training is you have to know the core need that you're meeting. The functional piece is fine. You can check boxes for people all day long, but you have to make sure you understand the human element. And again, in our profession and everything that's happening and the speed at which it's happening, those that understand both and know how to work in both places and are going to be innovative, but also still connected are the ones that are going to be the most successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of leads me into your aha moment. Like, what has been maybe a pivotal moment? Or I know entrepreneurs have many, but let's talk about your most impactful one and where it led you.
Yeah, so I may answer this two ways. I'll answer it for myself as a business owner. I learned this probably in 2010 or 11, I think, maybe just after the recession, is that the human element never goes away. We were leaning heavily into systems, technology, inbound marketing, social media, a lot of really fun things. And what I made the mistake of doing was disconnecting marketing and sales in this very real way. And I thought, well, we're automating so much, it's just going to work. And the systems are going to create so much efficiency. And I remember being about 4 to 6 months on the other side of that and going, wait a second, why is lead flow down? What's going on here? What's challenging? We're doing all this great investment. We're leaning into the newest and the greatest things. And so for me, that was an aha moment of just how important the personal and the relationship really is and how the whole ecosystem within a company needs to always stay tied together. So that was a business one, is don't think that you can just innovate your way out of hard work and discipline and the core fundamentals of any business, because I've been involved in multiple. The other one I would give is really not a sales pitch, but I will tell you, when I first became a realtor, I didn't understand advocacy. And I remember being a young realtor and being asked to be involved in my association. And for the first time, understanding the impact that we're making. And this isn't to say be involved. Obviously, I want all of our members involved in our advocacy efforts. But it became this very clear mark for me that I'm involved in advocacy, whether I understand it or I don't. And you ask at the beginning, my role in community service and being involved in all these things and being appointed by our governor to oversee our airports and all that stuff, which are all super rewarding. But the core for me was that I understood that if you're in business, you're in advocacy, whether you like it or not. And that was a true aha moment. Like, I remember where I was when it like clicked for me. And I was very young, in my 20s. And all of a sudden I was like, if I don't lean into this side of the business, what's going to happen is the business world is going to be created for me and around me. And I'm going to try to catch up to it. Or I can get involved in the conversation and help shape the conversation, the outcome of it. And then I can be an author of the destiny that I'm trying to live within, as opposed to being somebody that's just tagging along for the ride. Very key distinguishing moment for me professionally.
Yeah, and that makes so much sense. And I could see how a lot of realtors, hear the word advocacy and immediately go blank. They don't really understand that you don't have to jump all in. You just have to be a part of key decisions or, conversations. So that's a great point. So
and
that
it
brings
happens
us
at every level.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, that kind of brings me to the association. This is a pivotal year for associations. Obviously the NAR settlement, their ongoing, lawsuits and DOJ involvement. And, I feel like Florida Realtors is very well positioned because, I know intimately what types of products and services they offer and the value that they offer to their members. But what, for you this year, like, what is your key priority in leading, along with the leadership team, the association through this next year?
Yeah, thank you for the question and the opportunity to speak about this. Obviously, I'm honored that I get to serve as the 2025 president for Florida Realtors. And you know, this has been a passion of mine, an investment of mine for a number of years. Before I got on the leadership team, having led our RPAC trustees and now serving for 5 years as part of the team. I'll walk through this in a couple of ways here. First of all, it's making sure that we're engaging with our brokers. I'll be launching a broker roundtable tour around the state of Florida going into 2025. I think it's vital. What has happened, brokers, they're so focused on running their business and trying to protect profitability and train their agents and ensure that there's good professionalism within their office, that many times the brokers are not as engaged in the work of the association as we really need them to be, and as much as they probably want to be. And so what happens is, NAR has tried to touch the individual member, and Florida has, and the local has, and so on and so forth. But my primary goal is to sit with our brokers and to really hear, know, and understand what are their needs and what are their concerns, what are their desires, and how do we make sure as an association we're showing up to meet them in that place of need. I talk all the time to our leadership team is that my focus is productivity and profitability for our brokers. Obviously, we're going to continue to do all the good work we do in the community. Realtors are some of the most engaged in every community in the nation, period. Serving and leading in all different capacities and making sure we're advocating and fighting for home ownership, private property rights, and a good regulatory environment. That will continue. We know that. But we need to make sure we're engaging with the brokers and that we're not providing products, tools, and services that in some way are in conflict with what they're trying to provide for their own value proposition, but also that we're providing the ones that they really need to ensure that their businesses can be successful. What I'd love to see happen is Florida Realtors invest heavy in our partnerships with our local associations and with our brokers, and then empower our local association brokers to really push in and work with their individual agents to help this whole system really come together. The other thing is there's obviously a high level of emphasis on developing leaders and innovation for us in 2025. The leadership team has been having a lot of conversations about what do we need to do to really embrace the idea of new innovative products, tools, or services that are going to be coming into our marketplace. And, we have tremendous purchasing power. Florida Realtors is 240,000 members. I say we're 240,000 small businesses. That's how I talk about it. And so what innovation do we need to leverage as an association that says, we're going to make your job maybe just a little bit easier or a little bit more efficient or eliminate a little bit more risk for you or create a little bit greater profitability for you. So we're going to do that. And then the last one, as said, leadership, is I truly believe that if we want to see the Realtor Association and any organization for that matter sustain and thrive for generations to come, then we need to make sure we're developing true leaders. And I maybe alluded to it earlier with these 4 C's of leadership. For me, their character, their competency, their courage, and commitment. And so who are the people that have the right character to truly lead this organization in the way that's going to safeguard it for another 100 years? Who truly has the competency? You may be the nicest person, I may love you, but if you don't have the competency, then you maybe shouldn't be in that meeting room or helping make those decisions. And then do you have the courage to stand up and say, listen, I know everyone else says this is what we want to do. I don't think it's the right decision. And I'm going to stand on my own if I have to say this is what I believe is right. And then that commitment piece is, do I have the fortitude to follow through? And all of this work we do comes at a certain degree of sacrifice. You take time from family and business and other interests and adventures for me. But nonetheless, we do it for a greater good. And that greater good is that we understand that we truly are the champions for the American dream. And that dream isn't just home ownership. It's entrepreneurship and small business enterprise and free markets. The idea of a strong economy where families and communities can continue to thrive and grow. And realtors lead that charge every single day. And so we will be very focused on those elements in 2025.
Yeah, and I'm very optimistic about the next year in business and real estate. I know our housing forecast is positive, and that's always nice to see. My last question is just, as the real estate industry evolves and the market evolves, what are maybe your top couple of takeaways for brokers and agents to help them maybe stay ahead and innovate through the next year?
The first thing I would say, and this is something I talk about somewhat frequently, is make sure you truly are a real estate expert. I rarely engage in any online forums or anything like that, but I remember seeing a question come out at one point that said, if you can change one thing about real estate, what would it be? And I said, less marketing experts and more real estate experts. We live in this social consumption society where people think, well, if I just put this out and I make it look really good, people are going to believe that I'm an expert. But I think the brokerages and the agents and the realtors that are going to succeed are the ones that really lean in to understand the market dynamics, understand the fundamentals of an economy and how markets shift with that, really leaning into the idea of what's the next trend that's coming. And the trend doesn't have to be something fun or exciting. It's just business trends. They just happen. And so really doing that. And then, additionally, that old adage that knowledge is power, it really is. And so stay connected to what's happening. I know that, a lot of people are questioning the value of even the Realtor Association. I would take a call or sit with anyone, have a coffee to have a conversation about it. There's no question for me about the value. We're at the forefront of knowledge and information, and we give it openly and freely to our members because we want them to be the most ethical, the most knowledgeable, the most informed, and the most successful in serving the consumer that they are entrusted to take care of. And so I would say lean into those things. Understand the data and the metrics within your market, be a true expert, understand how to truly negotiate and meet the needs of individuals in that process, then stay connected to what we're doing. In my case at Florida Realtors, to make sure that we know how to best serve our members and make sure that they're successful. Real estate's exciting. It's rewarding. It's a tremendous blessing that we have in this country to be able to own real estate the way we do and build wealth through it. And that will continue to be the case. That's not going to change. And every study and every poll, as you know, reveals people still see, know, and value the importance of home ownership and being connected within their communities. And I could do a whole nother podcast with you on the impact of education and community success tied to home ownership as well. There's so much data around this that it's not going to change. And so we just want to make sure the smartest, most competent, and most dedicated professionals leading the way for us.
Well, Tim, thank you so much for sharing all of your insights on the RealTrending podcast. I appreciate you taking time. I know you have a very busy schedule, so thanks so much for making time for us.
I'm grateful. Thank you again for allowing me to be with you. And as I said before, I always enjoy talking with you. So thank you.
Thanks, Tim.